1993. 20 years ago this summer, Nintendo and Buena Vista audaciously merged the video game platform and the silver screen with
Super Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
The first cinematic adaptation of a video game property. With a $50 million budget and a tone bearing little resemblance to the actual game, the film never captivated fans of the series or movie-going audiences. Over the next 2 decades, nothing much has changed. It's no secret that video game adaptations have had a rough history on the silver screen. Out of over 30 major motion pictures based on video game properties that have come out since Super Mario Bros., so far none have amassed a fresh Rotten Tomato rating. In fact, the highest rated movie based on a game is 2001's Final Fantasy: The Spirit Within.
Oh my god.
And that only had 44%. So it begs the question, why? Well, there are many number of reasons and everyone has their own opinion. We have our own feelings, and while failures of the past offer lessons for the future, this video is strictly about the road ahead. So here's our case for why audiences and studios alike should be excited for a second chance. With the market growing as fast as the technology, video games have had to advance their ability in telling compelling stories, especially in a time full of rich media on every platform competing for an audience. Just as a plumber jumping on mushrooms with a big leap from 2 rectangles and a ball, developers have been competing with the spectacle of blockbusters and the stories of HBO in an ever-expanding canvas. And you know what? It's working. Compare the Cormac McCarthy-esque The Last of Us and the Mark Forster epic thriller World War Z. Most audiences and gamers found one as viably compelling and rich as the other. In fact, many found The Last of Us to be a stronger narrative. Story is important. More and more developers are hiring A-list screenwriters such as Academy Award-winning Stephen Gaghan, who just penned the next Call of Duty. A win for Hollywood would be to do the exact opposite. Why not merge the creative team of the video game and the filmmakers for the movie project in order to unify a property as opposed to simply licensing the property without any input from the creators?
What? It was obvious!
Just take a look at the renowned developer Valve and their Team Fortress 2 short films. Tell me these aren't as good as anything coming out of Pixar. Top developers have been courting this idea in the past few years. Rockstar teamed with acclaimed filmmaker John Hillcoat to make an excellent Red Dead Redemption short. And at this year's DICE event, J.J. Abrams and Valve CEO Gabe Newell announced interest in working together. This was a winning tactic when Marvel Studios joined Disney and put creative heads of the comics like Jeff Loeb in charge of the feature film and television divisions.
This game designer can dream up a character, give him a personality, lifelike moves, and quickly bring his paper sketches to life.
With the advance in facial performance technology came the necessity to incorporate nuance in characters. A decade ago, the selling points for the film adaptations of games were primarily set around set pieces, monsters, and plot, while actors were regulated to, well, more or less just how they looked. Today's performances are key to the appeal of AAA titles.
Have you guys seen this already?
Gary Oldman, Sam Jackson, Liam Neeson, Patrick Stewart, Kiefer Sutherland, and Mark Strong are just a few A-list names who have lent their voices to popular video game characters.
We have traveled far together.
Additionally, Ellen Page and William Dafoe went the extra mile in performing motion capture recording for Beyond Two Souls just this year, further blurring the line between cinematic experience and the video game experience.
You're out of your depth here, detective.
It's becoming a serious medium for thespians, so much that the name Nolan North from The Last of Us, Uncharted, and Batman will draw just as much attention on the Comic-Con floor as, say, Harrison Ford, which is a pretty recent phenomenon. Once a developer creates a vivid engine, the possibility of expansive set pieces are limited more to the imagination than the dollar, unlike films. For the past decade, a good deal of popular game titles have been attempting to reflect classic cinematic set pieces. From Scarface and Heat and Grand Theft Auto to Uncharted's dazzling Indiana Jones-like presentation, video games typically gained appeal and nostalgia reconstruction of blockbusters. Now, looking at a game like Total War Rome 2, it's safe to say the other side of the aisle can get just as inspired. With the technical canvas expanding every generation, artists and designers have continually redefined and reimagined the scale and detail required to convincingly immerse the players into the story they are telling. George Lucas couldn't ask for the kind of dedication some universes offer before the curtains are even pulled back. Duncan Jones, the award-winning filmmaker behind Moon, said World of Warcraft's immersive universe is what first attracted him to sci-fi and fantasy as a kid. Just as Star Wars inspired innovative genre filmmakers of the past few decades when they were kids, the innovative filmmakers of today and tomorrow likely spent some time becoming the world's first superpower in Total War Rome 2, defeating the Combine of Half-Life 2, or slaying dragons in Skyrim at the peak of their creative development. In short, we're at the stage where people making these movies are the ones who grew up with the medium when it ceased to simply be distracting hobbies and truly became a respectable art form and storytelling platform.
Nintendo has announced it has sold its 1 billionth video game cartridge.
211 million Americans play video games. It's also surprisingly more diverse than people would imagine. Women 18 or older represent a significantly greater portion of the game-playing population than boys 17 or younger. Video game intellectual properties such as Mario and Gran Turismo also have just as much global appeal as comic books. It's especially popular in countries that make up a majority of foreign box office grosses. China, in particular, can be a game changer for studios. This year, they lifted their government-issued ban on game consoles. China has already been interested in computer games. Their market for video games is now running parallel with the growth of their growing movie audiences. On average, 10 new movie theaters are being constructed every day in China. It's estimated that by 2015, it will surpass North America as the primary box office reserve.
Does it concern you, has the game business now gotten to the movie business and the pop music business?
Not in my opinion.
So when and what is the next step? What will be the project that finally breaks the quality curse with the video game adaptation? There are a number of films in development. Sony is gearing up to conclude Paul W. Anderson's Resident Evil series, and Breaking Bad's Aaron Paul is hitting the road looking to attract the Fast and Furious crowd with a Need for Speed title. Perhaps nothing is getting us quite as excited as Legendary's adaptation of World of Warcraft, directed by, you guessed it, Duncan Jones. If I were a betting man, I'd say it has a good chance of being fresh. But in our opinion, there are a number of games that can make excellent movies.